I would like to announce that a quorum is present. The meeting is duly called, and a notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. The following board members are in attendance: Dr. Betty Bonner, Allison Lasan, Catherine Sells, Sheila Taylor, Michelle Alkateb, Dr. Stacy Barker, and Jenny Prosnick. We will now convene into closed session as authorized by Texas Government Code Section 551, specifically 551.071, 072, 074, 089, and 129. The time is 6 p.m. We will now reconvene into open session. The time is 7:04, and I'd like to publicly thank the LHS choir for coming before the meeting started. Pledges allegiance are next. Could students from Timber Creek Elementary School now lead us in our pledges? Y'all, I mean, it's a meeting. Fifth graders Chase Kippa, Sebastian Waller, Emma Crow, and fourth graders Aaliyah Basier and Aaron Jenkins.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
I'd like to invite the students to move to the center of the stage for a picture, but I also want to share a little bit about them. Some fun facts about Chase. When asked what he likes to do, Chase said playing outside. Me too. When he grows up, Chase would like to be a football player, and Miss Holcomb is Chase's favorite teacher. Some fun facts about Sebastian. When asked what he likes to do, Sebastian said playing with my RC car, playing games, and playing with my brothers. When he grows up, Chase would like to be a veterinarian. Tech West has a program for you. And Miss Holcomb is also Sebastian's favorite teacher because she sometimes helps me with my work, sometimes plays games with us, and shouts out my name when I have 25 points. Some fun facts about Emma. When asked what she likes to do, Emma said playing water polo, skateboarding, and playing with my cats. Emma would like to be a forensic anthropologist or FBI agent when she grows up. And because she is always encouraging others, Coach Hartsburg is Emma's favorite teacher. Some fun facts about Aaliyah. Aaliyah likes to do are making crafts, practicing hockey for my ice hockey games, way to go, playing with my pets, and doing stuff with my parents, like going roller skating with my mom and painting with my dad. When she grows up, she would like to be an animal vet or the first woman to be in the NHL of the National Hockey League. I would love to see that. And Miss Small was Alina's favorite teacher because she was very kind to all the kids in her class, and she cared about us all equally. Some fun facts about Aaron. When asked what he likes to do, Aaron said playing the I'm going to mess this up. Bloomsbury Rocket video game and Super Mario Brothers. I know that one. Wonder video game. When he grows up, Aaron would like to be a teacher. We have Miss Cobb for you to see immediately following this. And Ms. Skype is Aaron's favorite teacher. Aaron also noted no offense to the other teachers. Thank you all for being here. Would their parents please stand so we can recognize you? I want to thank you for choosing LISD as your learning home. Welcome to all. The Lewisville ISD Board of Trustees meets monthly to receive reports from staff and take action on recommendations from the superintendent. The board receives the agenda and all supporting documentation 10 days in advance of these regular meetings, which allows us to ask and receive answers to many of our questions. The board also meets in regularly scheduled workshops and work sessions where staff discussions and presentations are given for many of the agenda items. This protocol means lengthy discussion or a litany of questions on every agenda item often is not necessary. And as a board, we should have appropriate knowledge and preparation for responses regarding the content of our meeting tonight. First up on the agenda is to consider action items discussed in closed session. Would someone like to make a motion? Ms. Sells.
In regard to TEA docket number 363-SE-0823, I move that the board authorize the superintendent to finalize the resolution as discussed in executive session and sign any resolution on behalf of the district.
Second, Ms. Taylor. All those in favor? That's 7-0. That's unanimous. Unanimous. Goodness gracious. Communications will now share with us this month's other recognitions and student spotlight.
Once again, the Flower Mound High School girls cross-country team has rewritten the record books with a dominating win at the University Interscholastic League State 6A cross-country meet to claim the state championship, becoming the first 6A program in history with 4 straight titles. With a combined team score of 41 points, the team was led by senior Samantha Humphreys, 4th place with a 17-minute, 14-second time. Junior Alexandra Fox, 5th place, 17-minute, 26 seconds. Senior Natalie Spanger, 15th place with 18 minutes, 5 seconds. Senior Nicole Humphreys, 23rd place with 18 minutes, 12 seconds. Junior Ava Cole, 28th place with 18 minutes, 23 seconds. Freshman Adeline Bennett, 32nd place with 18:26, and freshman Eliana Rivera, 111th place with 19 minutes and 51 seconds. Congratulations to the back-to-back champions. LISD is proud of you.
So I'm not usually the one that speaks about these ladies all the time, but Coach Cook couldn't be here tonight. He's with some family in Colorado. But, yeah, it's just a special group of ladies. I mean, I've been privileged to be able to coach them for 4 years now. And, yeah, we're definitely going to miss 3 of them, I guess they're seniors. So Sam and Nicole, the twins, are heading off to Oregon to run for them this next year. And then Natalie Spanger is going to be going to the Naval Academy to run for those guys. So, and then we got 2 freshmen here and 2 juniors. So we've got a lot coming back, and like I said, it's just a special group. And I mean, even more important, they have great grades, some of the top of the line in the classroom. So it's just been a privilege, like I said, and I'd like to thank all you guys for all the support. All the admin, they come to the district, regional, state meets, and then and we've been lucky enough to make it to the Nike Nationals for 2 years in a row. So we're hoping to continue that run. So thank you guys for everything.
Dr. I would like to take a moment of privilege, and tonight the LISD Board of Trustees would like to recognize Lewisville ISD Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Lori Rapp, for her participation and graduation from the prestigious Holdsworth Superintendent Leadership Program. The Academy is an 18-month program for a cohort of leaders who are in their first 5 years of superintendency and is designed to support public school leaders as they navigate challenges at a critical point in their career. Dr. Rapp's selection to the Academy in only her first year as being named superintendent comes as no surprise to those of us privileged to serve beside her in LISD. But it is impressive nonetheless. Her commitment to leading our district through ever-evolving educational landscapes by participating in distinguished and exclusive programs such as Holdsworth gives us more reason to be proud and grateful to have her at the helm of Lewisville ISD. Her willingness to go above and beyond her regular duties is a testament to her commitment to our students and our staff. We are all better off because of her efforts. Dr. Rapp, congratulations on your completion of Holdsworth Superintendent Leadership Program. We are proud to serve alongside of you as part of our team of 8 and are excited to see what the future holds for LISD under your leadership. Congratulations. Next, Dr. Bonner will present this month's Recognize Someone.
Thank you, Ms. Prosnick. We have a couple this evening. A parent shared this about Miss Honeycutt at Arbor Creek Middle School, and she says, "My son doesn't love school or excel in language arts. However, he never complains about Miss Honeycutt's class, and that speaks volumes. I've seen a difference in him this year, and I'd like to thank you for recognizing his strengths while holding him to high standards. You show him grace while giving him opportunities to grow and fix his mistakes. He will rise to the expectation you set for him. He'll work to become the student you think he can be. Thank you for truly seeing my son and bringing out his best." And then similarly, a staff member shared this about Mrs. Marquez at DeLay Middle School. Mrs. Marquez is more than our cafeteria manager. She shows up to all our school events, helps us engage with the community, and is a loved colleague. We appreciate all the work that she does on our campus and her positive attitude that she brings to DeLay. She keeps all of us, including the other food service employees, smiling and dancing. We appreciate all that she does for us.
Thank you, Dr. Bonner. Next on the agenda is the superintendent update. Dr. Rapp.
All right, Madam President, members of the board, I'm pleased to bring you this update this evening as we close out our fall semester together. So I'm going to start first with our vision and mission. All of our students are confident, equipped with the knowledge and skills to thrive and adapt for their future, and our mission is to engage and inspire learners and leaders. I am pleased to announce to you all tonight that we are on Forbes 2023 America's Best Employers list for the 3rd year in a row. Yes, we're not quite back to back, but we're close. So I'm pleased that came in. I think it's a recognition of the culture that we work to create here in this very special place that we all love so much. We have a lot of holiday cheer going on around the district, and I'm so thankful again to Lewisville High School Choir and our trio of farmerettes that were with them this evening. I appreciate all that's going on around the campuses. You all are at as much of it, I know, as you can make as well. And what a special time of year it is just to celebrate community, to celebrate our students, to celebrate the backgrounds that they bring to us as they have different celebrations as well. And so just really enjoy this time of year in our schools and around the district. I'm so thankful for our community who really comes together also for our Adopt an Angel program. The Lewisville High School Student Council's done a great job. I was there on Saturday. I'm thankful for so many of our campuses and departments and just all the community that's come together to rally around and support over 3,500 angels for this Christmas season. And then I've closed up this year. I finished all my fall times of my elementary and middle school student advisory. Alberto's back there in the back. He was at every single one of them. As I shared last month, we continued to get feedback about lunch and lunch options and breakfast with the students, and appreciate child nutrition coming to all of those. Our high school student advisory will meet this week. We'll continue to work on details around movie night, and of course I'm really proud of them them. I say this to y'all every month. I'm so proud of for what they are doing at their campuses. One of the things that they talked about was how they are keeping Kindness Week going throughout the school year, from Being Kind campaigns to kindness notes that they're leaving for staff. They're doing a great job of that. And then tonight, we will hear about our bilingual and ESL programs. And so I'm working in a couple of kudos for them into my presentation because there wasn't necessarily time in theirs. And so I just want to give them some kudos and recognition for the summer programs. We're so proud of what they put together for our students with our NISA, our Newcomer Immigrant Summer Academy that served over 300 second through fifth graders this past summer, and then Spanish Camp served over 198 Spanish language learners. They put me on the spot. Esther saw this. I danced with the children. The children were much better than I was. But we had a really fun time together. And then, of course, at secondary, we're so proud of SOAR. We're proud of how many students over the last decade that our SOAR program has supported. This past summer, we had 420 emergent bilingual students that we had in that program, and specifically 2 of the seniors that are pictured there completed their graduation requirements by being able to be at SOAR. And then 35 of our SOAR students completed their English 3 credit during the second half of summer school. So I'm so proud of the team. So thankful for y'all being here tonight to present your update to the board. I had parent advisory. I was happy to report to them. We're making progress. Thankful to Brian Colbeck and Mr. Kuntz and the technology team so that we can provide our parents with a way to see what's being purchased at lunch. Lunch is a hot topic, both between students and parents. So we're looking forward to that. And then also we're providing sports passes. I appreciate Colby back there in the back for working on that, and we'll provide that information in the report that you can go online and buy a sports pass to go to many of our spring sports. And then in Stuff the Pantry, I'm proud to report to you all we collected over 60,000 pounds of food benefiting local food pantries. And Downing Middle School, they are back to back champions when it comes to Stuff the Pantry. I had strong open rates for both the wrap-up and the rapport from November. And then I, too, have a little bit of a surprise. I got a few recognized someones on a couple of you up here. Y'all didn't know this was coming. So I've got one for Miss Lasan and Miss Prosnick, and this is what David True shared about both of you from your visit to the Success Center. We appreciate your leadership and the opportunity to share our vision and goals with you. Your presence on our campus was important to us, and I wanted to thank you for your time. We have received over 4,491 submissions since the start of the school year. I'm looking forward to 2024. Thank you all so very much.
Very good. Public comments are next on the agenda. Those who wish to speak at a board meeting often expect a dialogue with the Board of Trustees. However, in accordance with Texas law, the board is not able to respond directly to comments or questions posed by speakers. Texas law does not allow the board to discuss or take action on any issue presented during the public forum unless the item has already been posted for action on the meeting agenda. Each speaker will receive a written follow-up from the district in the next 3 business days. The board and district administration welcomes and values the feedback shared during this time of the meeting, and we are grateful for the continued partnership between LISD and the families and the communities we serve. We have 3 speakers tonight. First up is Janaki, I'm going to brutalize it, Krishnamurthy. Got it close. You come to the podium, please. You will have up to 3 minutes for your presentation. Please state your name and your address.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Janaki Krishnamurthy. The address, it doesn't seem to work. That's fine. Close? Is that good? Okay. My name is Janaki Krishnamurthy. The address is 6509 Sorrento Lane in Flower Mound, Texas. So I'm excited to be here as the sponsor of DFW Gen Green, a team of amazing LASD school students who are passionate about making our schools and community a greener, cooler place to be. Now, I'm a faculty member of University of Maryland, but I'm a resident of Flower Mound. But how does that happen? I teach online courses. The girls have been, mainly the girls, the team is made up of 3 girls. The girls have been brainstorming about different ways how to run the school's clean, green energy. And they were excited, actually, when they heard that the bond was approved. So it's been inspiring to see how the generation is taking charge. These girls aren't just talking the talk. They have collected about 100 signatures in support of their proposal and are still spreading awareness through various school-sponsored events. Tonight, they are here to present their ideas. So let's get ready to hear some awesome plans for making the school more sustainable and eco-friendly. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Karish Shearer. You have 3 minutes. You just need to state your name.
Okay. So good evening. My name is Karish Shearer, a proud member of Hebron High School's class of 2025 and the co-founder and executive director of DFW Gen Green, a passionate student-led environmental advocacy group dedicated to promoting sustainability within the community and passing a resolution to electrify LISD, the very reason we're speaking to you all tonight. So before I begin, I would like to give a brief thank you to the members of the board, administrators, and community members whose support and insight have facilitated our presence here tonight. So truly, to every single one of you, thank you. Now, as I briefly mentioned before, we have come to discuss our resolution, which seeks to revolutionize how LISD evaluates and produces its energy by putting forth a pledge to electrify the school district, including the bus fleet. We are prepared to do whatever it takes and hope to have board and district administrative support within the process. And I will briefly be overviewing the health and sustainability purposes of our resolution, while Veda will explore the financial benefits of electrification. And we hope that our student view can provide invaluable insight into electrification's importance. So one of the driving benefits of why we are pushing for the passage of such a resolution is the numerous health benefits moving away from fossil fuels on campuses presents to students, staff, and the greater LISD community. Indoor air pollution from the usage of fossil fuels has been linked to increased risks of asthma, viral infections, damaged lung growth, and lifetime health issues. By replacing traditional biomass heating with electric alternatives, we reduce the aforementioned air pollution, thereby reducing the risk for these diseases. And we also reduce the risk for fire hazards and burn injuries found with more traditional systems. And secondly, there is the matter of sustainability. K-12 schools are one of the biggest public sector consumers of energy, consuming the same as 18 coal-powered plants or 15 million cars a year, according to the Harvard Graduate School of Education. And extreme weather has seen school shutdowns for days due to ice, and this has disrupted student learning. I can speak from personal experience. And the carbon footprint of schools has a direct role in this, and it is within LISD's power to develop climate resilience through the self-sustaining nature of electrification and set a standard for districts across the state and the country. And moving forward, we hope to see continued support from the board, and as a relationship with board members and district admin is critical to the success of our resolution. And it is our hope that the insight from both takes an active role in the formal drafting of the resolution. And as for the public, I think the 95-plus signatures to our petition, both online and on paper, we saw at a single booth at Marcus High School's Carnival. And more information about electrification and our group's efforts can be found at www.dfwgengreen.org. And we urge anyone with any questions or concerns to contact us via email at dfwgengreen@gmail.com. Especially since it's hard to compact such a critical topic in just 3 minutes. So we hope to see continued support from and hear from the board, admin, and the community within the coming weeks and days. And as one LISD, we can stand together for tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shearer. Well done.
Thank you.
Next up, Vina Gannison. Just your name.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Veda Ganesan, and I'm a sophomore from Marcus High School in Flower Mound, Texas, and I'm proud co-founder and executive director of DFW Gen Green. Thank you, and thank you to the board members for taking the time to listen to us speak today. Our plan puts forth an ambitious resolution outlining electrification and decarbonization of buildings and transportation, development of solar panels, and creation of an environmental board to maintain electrification in the local area. We understand that our action items require extensive time, commitment, and dedication, but we hope to collaborate with the board to enact our change, even if that be once we graduate. So let's now explore how electrifying our infrastructure can not only enhance sustainability, but also ignite economic growth within our community. Firstly, electric school buses are more energy efficient than traditional diesel buses because of their lower operating costs. With the price stability of electricity compared to fluctuating diesel prices, schools can better predict and budget for fuel expenses, reducing the impact of energy price volatility. Electric school buses often have longer lifespans than their diesel counterparts due to their simpler engines and transmission parts and reduced wear and tear. This means that schools may not need to replace buses as frequently, saving on capital costs. Electric school buses produce zero tailpipe emissions, which results in cleaner air, which can lower healthcare costs due to reduced respiratory issues. It can also lead to lower carbon emissions, which can help school districts meet sustainability goals and avoid potential carbon taxes and penalties in the future. Energy generated can self-sustain LISD and be supplied to neighboring homes, thus generating revenue to compensate for initial funding. Going solar allows the school district to save money on electricity bills, as shown in the rapid decline of solar prices, and allows districts to retain existing staff and resources in the face of budget cuts, as seen in Bridgeport ISD. In Texas, the State Energy Conservation Office, or SECO, offers free preliminary energy assessments to schools, recommending cost-effective resource efficiency measures for electrification. Electrification provides schools with the means of expanding educational opportunities by integrating solar energy and energy generation into the school curriculum to help students explore real-world situations and work collaboratively to develop solutions to these problems. Pasadena ISD at Texas serves at least 75% low-income students to learn creative problem-solving skills and expand future career pathways by interacting with solar energy production in the district. With copious amounts of funding from the state and federal sources, such as the Inflation Reduction Act, there is no better time than the present to electrify the district. For example, the U.S. Department of Energy was able to award Austin ISD a $15 million grant for solar panels on 16 campuses without costing the taxpayer. Carroll, Coppell, Monday, Presidio, and Irving ISD have received grants from the SCCO to fund the installation of high school solar panels, and school electrification has been successfully accomplished in school districts in Colorado. Thus, we need your support to make this vision a reality. As the next generation, we will continue to push for change with the help of the current generation, and we hope to achieve electrification. We hope you'll consider our proposition, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is consent items. Are there any items to be pulled, or would someone like to make a motion? Go for it. Ms. Sells?
I move that the board approve the consent agenda items as recommended by administration.
Second, Dr. Barker. All those in favor? That's unanimous, 7-0. Next on the agenda is information items. First up, bilingual and ESL update. Ms. Gall.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Rapp. We appreciate the opportunity to share with you our annual bilingual ESL update, and I will welcome up to the podium Danielle Oakley, Esther Montanez, and Shaniqua Johnson, all of which they serve in our bilingual ESL division and do a lot of the work that you just gave them the kudos and shout out about with the summer work, but they do other things during the year, and we're going to share with you all of the information and update for this annual report.
Well, good evening. We are here to share some of the updates about where our program is. Where do I aim this? It is now, yes. We're going to share where we are as far as our data is concerned and how we compare to the state and the region in a couple of different areas, and then do some celebrations and look ahead at what we have coming up in the next few months. Our enrollment continues to increase, and we are now at 23% of the district qualifying for services from our dual language or our ESL program. In comparison to the state, we are now slightly higher than them in our EB enrollment. The state is at 21%. We are, again, at 23%. And this is what that looks like across all of the grade levels. So we are serving kids in all grade levels at this time. Our languages are a little bit different than the state. Our Spanish-speaking population is right around 71%, whereas at the state level it's at 88% that are Spanish-speaking. So when we look at program involvement here in just a second, you'll see that that is represented in how we are serving our students as well. We have a total of 72 different languages that are spoken by the families that we serve in our programs, and a total of 91 languages represented by all of our families that are either emergent bilingual or already fluent in English. And I do want to point out, we've got some families that have moved here over the last few years that are coming to us from places where there's a lot of conflict. And it's stressful moving, to the other side of the world and leaving everything behind to come here and start learning in a whole new place. And so we just wanted to show you where some of those countries are that we're getting a lot of our students from. And the way that we're serving all of these kids, like I said, our dual language enrollment is a little bit lower than the state because our Spanish-speaking population is a little bit lower than the state. And the rest of those students are served in ESL in all grade levels. We are happy to share that we have a lower rate of students that are being served by teachers on a waiver, meaning that those teachers are working on becoming ESL certified. So we have a lower rate of that across our district than the state. And parents do have the right to refuse language services, and we are continuing to be much lower, about half of what that rate is across the state.
In this slide reflects the participation of students in the dual language programs. As Danielle stated, we have had an increase of emergent bilinguals, and you will see that in the blue bar. In this year, we have an increase of 147 students that are being served as an emergent bilingual in the one-way program. Let's go to the next slide so we can see a better breakout of the enrollment of our students. We have 3 programs in 12 campuses here by the state. We have the English as a second language. We have the dual language immersion one-way that serves only emergent bilinguals. And we have the dual language immersion two-way that serves both the Spanish learners as well as English learners. We are noticing some changes in the student participation of Spanish language learners, and we're keeping a very close look at it in order to make adjustments as needed based on the areas, different pockets of areas in the districts. Thank you so much.
So before we look at some of our data and some celebrations, I do want to point out a couple things about what the research says about language development and learning a second language. It takes about 6 months to 2 years to become fully conversational in another language. Research also says that it takes 5 to 7 years to develop the language that's needed to be academically proficient in a second language. And for some of our students that are coming from backgrounds and from experiences where there's been trauma and conflict, it could take 7 to 9 years to develop a second language. So despite what all of that says, we still give TELPAS every single year, and we are still rating their reading, writing, listening, and speaking to see what that progress is. They still take STAR every year, and if you're a 3rd through 8th grader and you enroll in the spring, you're taking a STAR test within your first couple months in the U.S. And, of course, they still meet the same graduation requirements that all English speakers are meeting. So we're happy to report that our TELPAS scores, in comparison to this state, we are outperforming the state in all of those domains. Our speaking is the only one that is matched, but across all the other domains, we are doing a little bit better. And one of the things that we're doing at the secondary level to help with targeting some of this language progress and making sure that our students really understand the test is we've been giving the TEL Test of English Language Learning, and this is a benchmark that we use in class that helps us identify where our students in the newcomer and intermediate level classes are progressing and One of the things that this does is helps us target kids that are having issues with the microphone on the speaking portion, so we can have conversations with them because we know that that's something that they're also experiencing when they're taking TELPAS. And then when we look at how many students have exited the program and proven that they are proficient in English, our numbers in 2023, as we had expected, went down a little bit, and that's because the goalpost on TELPAS continues to change every year, and this year it went to online writing for the first time, and so that does change the game for our kids, and it's continuously changing. The reason that we had so many kids that could exit the program in 2020 is because that was the year we had all these other ways that we could measure. And we had a lot of students who were able to show proficiency in English using another method besides TELPAS. But the big celebration here is that we continue to increase our rate of graduation and the percentage of our students that are able to graduate each year. And this is enormous. It's almost 91% of our kids. Right? So I'm really excited about that. This data is from 22 because, as you know, all of our data is like an extra year behind. So it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And the testing requirements change every year. Our number of EBs is increasing. Our newcomer needs are increasing. It is challenging to staff specialized language classes. And those gains that we see every day in the classroom are not always evident in those yearly accountability ratings. And yet, we are creating a culture that people want to be part of, and they want to work here, and they want to do this work with our kids. We continue to outperform the state, and our EBs are graduating at a rate of almost 91%, which is incredible. And the fruits of this labor and all the things that we do and our teachers do every day in the classroom, it takes time to see that. But we are seeing it, and it's very exciting. So our teachers are doing amazing work, and we love everything that they're doing.
So as we look ahead, we will continue to prepare our students by offering our summer programs, the NISA and SOAR programs that Dr. Rapp mentioned earlier. We will continue to offer professional learning opportunities and job-embedded learning opportunities and supports to our educators, which are enhancing instructional skills and knowledge. To connect our parents and community members with our school communities, we will continue to offer and support district-wide and campus-based community engagement initiatives. LISD's bilingual and ESL programs operate in accordance to both the Texas Education Code and the Texas Administrative Code. By monitoring and analyzing data regarding student literacy progress, English language proficiency, and student program participation. Thank you for your time, and thank you for supporting our emerging bilingual students. Are there any questions?
Board, are there any questions? Oh, Dr. Rapp.
I'm going to say one thing real quickly. I think y'all have done an amazing job with the programs that you've created. And when I think about the reflection on the graduation rates, one of the things that we talk about when the schools who come before us that have intervention plans from the state, we've talked about the research when it comes to language acquisition and how many years it takes. And we've been monitoring our literacy data and bringing it before you now for well over 5 to 7 years, and actually have had a literacy instrument in place where we started collecting the data for going on a decade. And so I just think it goes to show that when you put tools in place that monitor and you respond to the data and you give your students time to be in our programs that we offer in our system, you get to the place of a 91% graduation rate. So very, very proud, and thank y'all for all your work.
Any other comments? I want to echo that. I don't know if anyone could see it on that slide, but the average graduation rate in the state of Texas is 80. So that means that we graduate one more kid per 10 than others, than the state does. And it's because of the good work. As you know, SOAR is one of my favorite things to come to every year. What's the theme this year? Do we know what the theme is? Are we doing the same thing?
Olympic Games.
Olympic Games. I will wear my red, white, and blue. Thank you all very much. Next on the agenda is the RFP for Enterprise Resource Planning System and related products and services. Mr. Kuntz. Oh, I'm sorry. I cannot read tonight. I am so sorry. District Improvement Plan, Long Range Plan Update. Dr. Miller.
I was like, oh, I was so excited to share. I really was. David, thank you for letting me go first. Thank you, Madam President. This is our first DIP update since implementing the Long Range Plan, so I was really excited to share with you where we're landing in the fall. A few important points about the DIP is, first, of course, it's driven by our Long Range Plan, so we have 5 goals around the cornerstone, and then we have 2 additional goals that are the state and federal mandates that are included in there. All of our department and district goals are embedded in there, so I'm going to highlight the strategies we're using to really make progress in those areas. But then, because we have the long-range plan and the scorecard, you will kind of see a check-in of everything that's involved in the DIP. So student learning, these are some key strategies that we're using to make progress in the area of student learning, from checking in and having conversations on campus with PLCs to really looking at data and then working with those campuses on where they're falling and where they want to go. And then Dr. Fitzhugh has already shared the student learning data with you. So then when you go to the scorecard, you've seen the left side of this. So those are the measurements that we agreed on. We wanted to see move based on our goals. And then we set those targets at the end of last year for the end of this year. The next column is where we ended at the end of last year. And then fall is we did a check-in on all of our data before Thanksgiving break, so sometime in beginning of November-ish. And so then based on that, all of the departments have discussed that data, reflected on our strategies, how they're being implemented, and then we did a signal of, are we staying the course on the plan that we are implementing? Do we want to make a minor change, or do we want to make a major change? And just so you know, minor and major were really just how are you going to respond to the data. We did this with campuses also, and some campuses thought, oh, that's going to be a major change, but it was a conversation, where another campus is like, that's a minor change, it's a conversation. So just so you know, it's not technical on the minor or major, but just how are you going to respond or act based on that data. So the ones that are colored are the district's response to that, and then over on the far right are our campuses and how they're signaling for those. And then in the DIP, you have anywhere that there's a change, there was noted like what we're doing to respond to that change. So, for instance, for student learning, we're really looking at the interventions and how we're supporting campuses on those subgroups is what we're really looking at for our minor changes. So there are 2. There's performance objective 1.2, which is also student learning. Interesting, you'll see on this one, a lot of middle schools were noting a minor change. So when we talked to all the campuses and about their data, a lot of the middle schools saw their 6th graders' grades were coming in lower in the first fall semester. So we had great conversation about, okay, is that because we need to help them better with understanding, grading and work assignment, the expectation, or is there really something else we need to look at? So that's why a lot of them had a minor change of wanting to go back to their PLCs and have those conversations about how they're supporting 6th graders. All right, so student experience is about the learning environment. Remember, this year was our first time to implement student and parent surveys in fall and spring, twice this year. Our student and parent surveys came in really high for fall, and a really high rate of them coming in as well. So a lot of student experiences around the learning environment, restorative practice, what we're doing to build that culture and climate in the classroom, and then looking at attendance. So again, here's how everyone is signaling out. Remember the first one for advisory, we actually made those changes at the end of last year. So the fall is our first year to implement, and then we'll be asking for student input again in February to see how those changes are impacting their learning. Everything else we really wanted to say the course. Just so you know about the chronic absence. So chronic absence is more than 10% of your time that you're in school. Well, in the fall you have less time. So if you got hit by a stomach bug and you're out 10 days, you're now chronic, but that really will catch up to you later. So that's why it's a little high right now, but overall we're coming in much lower than we did last year. And then here's the rest of student experience, staying the course for all of those. Also, we've put, well, Sarah, you know that Dr. Fitch is really good at all of our Excel spreadsheets and stuff, so she types all these codes in. So anywhere that there's a minor or major change, we share that document with, so like if there's something about truancy or something that a campus wants to make a minor change, we let Rebecca Clark and them know, here are the campuses that have indicated a change, so they can have conversations about what they're doing and help advise on that. Okay, then resource stewardship. Remember, this is the cornerstone that we have 2 goals. So goal 3 is all about our finances. Y'all have been part of most of these conversations about finance, and they're ongoing, about budget review and our programs. And here is our signaling out on those areas. About that, we're really looking at, we used a lot of the bond and Vader information for our dashboard, and so we're looking at finance and communication and working together for that. That's why that's a minor change, though we have a lot of hits on it. And then for our staff paperwork, so we got lots of feedback from our input groups and our survey about paperwork, and had lots of conversation with campuses as well. Because of those conversations, we have identified that MTSS, our special ed process, is the main area that we really want to identify right now. So actually, Ms. Litchfield is working with others to identify that system and how we can change that. So it's going to be a minor change to really help with that. It's just going to take a little time to do that, but we're in the process of doing that now. So that is our minor change up there. And then our second goal for resource stewardship is around our people and recruiting, retention, and development of our people. So lots of things we're doing there with our current staff, and then how are we giving them a voice and an input and part of the process, and then how are we doing our grow our own and our associate teachers to help build the future. And here's our signaling out for that. Oh, yeah, and then there's one more for that one as well. This one's about training for our staff, developing them. And then our last goal is, well, that we'll do an update on, is for community engagement. And this one had our staff survey and then our parent survey. The first round of responses are involved in this as well. Of course, we had a lot of communication going out about Bond and Vader, but lots of groups of how we're informing and engaging with both internal and external. And then, again, our surveys came in really strong, and so most things indicate of staying the course of what we've been doing is making the impact that we are anticipating or wanting. All right, so remember we changed the schedule of our updates to align with when we get a next round of good data, we'll be in the middle of February, and so then in March, and we will meet with all those groups again to go over where is it coming in now based on the adjustments we've made with those minor and major changes. So we will update y'all in March, and then Dr. Fitch, you will follow that same schedule with student learning updates as well. That's it.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Dr. Bonner.
I don't know if you can see it on my face, but I'm so excited I can't really sit still. I mean, seriously, the work done on this is at a crazy level, and it is the most extensive measurement I've seen in this district in 30-something years. And more importantly than that, you know, you can measure stuff all the time and really not do anything with it. But there is no doubt in my mind that through the Principal U or other avenues for discussion, it's being measured right here. And I really like it because it shows where the campuses are without outing them, right? It shows what percentage does this, that, and the other. And then I'll quit, you know, just being so excited over it in a second. But what it shows me is a true learning organization that's all pulling the rope the same direction. Outstanding.
I would concur with that, and I would also say what I like most about it is that we're not just collecting the data, but we're reacting to the data in real time, and we're not waiting down the road. So excellent work all the way around, and I'm sorry I can't read. Absolutely, Dr. Rapp.
I mean, so when you have a principal in the room, I'm going to say thank you to them, because ultimately I'm so proud of the campus check-ins around this information. And so I get to thank Dr. Boughton for the first time as doctor, and just very proud of our principals and how they're working with their campus scorecards. And Alexis Miller back there as well. I know you've done a lot of work on the campuses with the restorative practices goal, but very, very thankful, very proud of all them. Okay, thank you.
All right, now we will go to item 3, which is the RFP for Enterprise Resource Planning, the ERP system, and related products and services. Mr. Koontz.
Thank you, Board, Dr. Rapp, for the opportunity to present an update on our progress related to the RFP for a new enterprise resource planning system and related products and services. First, I'd like to review a few highlights from the previous update related to this project. There we go. All right, so when we last updated you on this, we talked about last year, around this time of year, we had come to a decision as a district that we needed to move to a new ERP system. And that was really to improve our operational efficiency. The current system, we just were not operating currently at the rate that we want to. And so we, as part of those conversations, we also determined that we needed to have a vendor partner come in to help us conduct some business analysis work so that we could identify areas where we could improve our processes and become more efficient procedurally, make some recommendations to that regard, and also be a partner during the implementation of a new system. And so we ultimately settled on iSphere as that vendor partner, and they came in and started that process, meeting with the different functional area teams, those departments that work in the ERP system every day, mapping out their current state of their business processes and identifying needs, and just making some recommendations as well. And in the midst of that process, we also released a request for information, an RFI, on August the 18th. Really, that was sent out to solicit possible ERP vendors to get some at least preliminary information on what systems are out there so that we could do some initial analysis of that. In the course of those conversations with iSphere, as they were leading those teams through that discussion about current needs, problem areas, going through mapping out business processes, there were several common themes that kept coming back up in those meetings, and we really identified those as key priority outcomes for a new ERP system implementation. These are things that, if we're going to be successful bringing online a new ERP system, the new ERP system has to deliver on these areas. So those identified priority outcomes were, number one, the new ERP system needs to facilitate the core operational functions of a K-12 school district, such as payroll, purchasing, hiring, accounts payable, budget, etc., with greater efficiency. And that really is the key at the end, with the greater efficiency. That's a theme that is going to echo through several of these priorities, kind of, but ultimately that is the goal here. It's not just that it has to do the work or help the people do the work. We have to be more efficient at it. Secondly, the new ERP system needs to provide better tools and data visibility for managing budgets, staffing, and position control. Those three areas in particular are high priority focus areas for this project, but across the board we want to see better tools and data visibility for staff. Ultimately, a system, our staff have complex jobs already, and we don't need a system that complicates it further. So we want it to make it easier, and so that's what we're looking for. Number three, a new ERP system needs to support compliance with current and upcoming state reporting requirements. PEEMS obviously critical related to funding, and Ed5, the transition to the Ed5 submission process is top of mind for us. We want to make sure that we're successful moving forward with that, but really not just checking the box with can it support Ed5, but is it going to make life more complicated for staff in order to accomplish Ed5, or is it going to help streamline the process of using it for Ed5 submission? Next, a new ERP system needs to reduce the number of different systems and processes required to accomplish district operations. Our current ERP system, we have acquired several supplementary systems to help accomplish functionality that has been deemed not to meet the district's needs within the core ERP. So what we would like a new ERP system to do is help us to consolidate that functionality under one single system as opposed to in disparate systems that are integrated where staff is jumping between multiple programs in order to accomplish their work. But not just third-party software systems, we actually have external processes as well that we want to roll back into the ERP. Right now, there are situations where staff are performing functions outside of the ERP system and then bringing that data or information back to the ERP to finish the job. But that's not how we want to operate. It's not efficient, going back to that efficiency mantra, and so we want to consolidate back into this ERP system. And finally, we want a new ERP system that generates business intelligence insights to inform district decision making. So it's no longer good enough to simply give access to data. We need a system these days that will promote relevant information to the user on its own, perform analysis for us, highlight things that need to be seen. We need a vendor that's forward-thinking in terms of bringing technology that's going to take advantage of all the exciting things that are happening in technology so that we can leverage that to be more efficient as a district. So with those priority outcomes in mind, we developed and released an RFP on October the 13th for a new ERP system, and vendors had until November the 14th to submit proposals to the district. After that, the district started an evaluation process that will culminate in a recommendation of the board early next year. Now, we recognize that this is a significant project, a significant investment for the district in terms of money and time, and I always just say these kind of projects are a marriage relationship, not a dating relationship. So we will, for better or for worse, be tied to this new system for years into the future, and we want to make that for the better. And so it's important, critically important, that we do everything we can to successfully evaluate these systems to make the right choice for LISD. So in order to do that, we've tried to develop as comprehensive an evaluation process as possible. Some components of that are, number one, we've got a cross-functional team that's involved in evaluating and scoring all of the proposals, people from all the departments that are involved in working in the ERP system every day. They are represented and they are speaking into what is going to work and what is not going to work with the new system. Also, we plan to have focused, process-oriented software vendor presentations. Now, what does that mean? That means that we don't want just a boilerplate, generic sales presentation to be given to this team. We are planning to provide specific scenarios and tasks for them to perform in front of the evaluation committee so that we can see exactly how that system performs when we're doing these critical areas of need that function. And additionally, that'll allow us to compare apples to apples when we look at one vendor and how it can accomplish this task versus a different vendor's software accomplishing the same task. Furthermore, we are implementing reference checks. We are already doing reference checks with districts that are currently using the system. We've contacted many references already and are continuing to speak to districts. We value the opinions of peer districts and who is currently using those systems to hear how that's working, not just in regards to how the software works, but also what's it like working with a vendor? How is the implementation? What is the support like? What does the training look like? All these components go into whether this will be a successful project or not. We want to hear it from reference districts. And tied into that, we also want to have a site visit component into this evaluation process where we'll go to a school district, sit with current staff working with that school district in that system and observe how that works, how they work in the system, hear directly from them while they're using the system. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. We want to try to get as much information on these systems as possible before we make a decision because it's so important. So, what are the next steps? Evaluation of submitted proposals is currently underway, and then administration plans to bring a discussion item next month to the board, and after that, we will bring a recommendation for a new ERP solution to the board at a subsequent board meeting. We are targeting as early as February for that recommendation. And thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Ms. Taylor.
More of a comment. I just want to, say that the evaluation process that you outline is very detailed, and I think it's a great idea because normally when you think about software, vendors come to you and they give the same presentation to everybody. So I like the idea that you are using real life scenarios, and then you're going to make them do it in front of you right. versus taking time to go build something that they show you. I think that's excellent. Also like the idea of visiting school districts that are using whatever software makes it to the finals, if you will, right. To see how that works real life. So just kudos to such a great evaluation process. And I feel confident that you're going to bring us a great recommendation.
Anything? The only thing I'll say is my favorite thing is reducing the number of systems, because all the time we talk about taking things off the plate, and I am excited to see some things taken off the plate. But don't move too fast, Mr. Coons, because you're up next for the monthly technology report.
It is my pleasure to present the technology board report. This data is for the month of October, so through October the 31st. And so on the first page, I'm going to direct you to the bond fund section first. The numbers there haven't changed from the previous month. Those are identical. What I will point out is this section is still referencing only the 2017 bond. However, we've had conversations about adjusting the design of this for future meetings to also incorporate 2023 bonds. So that'll be coming. That change will be, we're still working on the design of it, but it'll be incorporated in an upcoming meeting. Under the I fees, compared to the prior month, the revenue and expense are slightly up. However, the balance is the same for that. Related to the devices portion, all three areas there are 1 month older on average than the previous month, which is not a surprise since we haven't had a big device rollout. However, I will point out the third section under teacher devices will be impacted based upon the action you've taken tonight in the consent agenda using the 2023 bond funds to start the refresh process for staff devices. And so that obviously will take a few months before we can get those in and get them rolled out. But at that point, we will see this number go down. So thank you for taking action on that. It'll make a big difference. And then flipping to page 2, I will say the opt-in percentage is held steady from prior month. The devices on campus, I will point out, is up almost 1% from the previous month, and it is nearly 88%, which is the desired goal on the district improvement plan. So that's exciting. Under the categories of content viewed, the educational content has gone up a little bit from the previous month. The average monthly bandwidth per student, the usage is holding steady. And you'll note that it seems to be trending slightly lower than the prior year now that we have the year-to-year comparison. So that's good to note, interesting. And then finally, in the bottom section, just note that there's continued widespread home and school use across the board.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Thank you very much, Mr. Coons.
Thank you.
Next up is discussion items. The monthly financial report, including the bond report, land sale report, the monthly investment summary, and fiscal year 2024 revenue update. Ms. Maloney.
Thank you, President Prosnick, Dr. Rapp, members of the board. This is for the month ending in October 31st, 2023, 2 months into the fiscal year. As you can see, we have very little in tax collections, and we'll get to a report in just a little bit that the tax bills were sent out very, very late because of the heavy lift at the tax office for the legislative action that was taken. State revenue is up due to same action. If you look down in expenditures, we have had 2 payrolls, and in the 6,400s, we have a front-loaded $7 million insurance payment, which is reflected there in those expenditures and the other operating expenditures. In the Child Nutrition Fund, we have a steady revenue coming in, and as I say every time, you should start to see in the 6,600s in the spend-down plan as we take action on some of these things. We should start to see those expenditures come in. Nothing happening in the debt service fund. As you know, as the taxes come in, we'll make our interest payment in February. And then principal payment in August. We have our construction report. And I would call your attention to the line items on page 203, the technology line item for some savings that we might see there. The savings in the uncommitted line item, we may see some more savings from projects drop to that line item. And then the interest payment, we are projecting probably for the end of the year by August 2024, another $3.8 million in interest for the bond report. And I would call your attention to page 205. This October and November are some of the when our cash is very, very low before our taxes come in. But yet with those high interest rates, we still managed to earn $1.4 million in the month of October. And so this evening, what we wanted to do was to bring you a little report post-election, post-approved Vader. And so on the screen, we have an updated fiscal year 24 general operating revenue, some general operating revenue projections. As far as enrollment goes, in August, we budgeted 48,956 students. We are a little less than that in December. However, our ADA is up, and that can happen sometimes because of the special programs, special education, CTE, all of those different things. So while enrollment is down, we know that we're funded on ADA, and our ADA is actually up by about 500. So we're real happy to see that. Tax collection still 99% is what we're projecting, and the M&O tax rate will be the 74.92. Thanks to the voter-approved tax ratification election, and then our INS tax rate of 3809. But what we wanted to update you about tonight is the impact of Senate Bill 2 and Senate Bill 12, the increase to the homestead exemption from $40,000 to $100,000, increase the homestead exemption for the elderly and disabled to $110,000, and then the limited growth of properties less than $5 million to no more than 20%. And what Senate Bill 12 really wanted to do was to go back all the way to House Bill 3 and ensure that the people who had frozen values would benefit from tax collection. And as those things were calculated, these changes removed over 9,500 taxpayers from the LISD rolls. So those would be our frozen levies, our over 65. They are just kind of taken out of the equation for taxes for us here in the district. And so what that did, and we don't need to be alarmed because the state's going to kick in, where we're short, but our initial projection for M&O tax collections was $425 million. Because of these things with the Senate Bill 2 and Senate Bill 12, an updated projection from the county is 407, and an INS, same thing. So in overall tax collections, we're down about 26%. But when we run our information in the template, you can see that our adopted budget, our property tax revenue, is down $17 million, but our state revenue is up $21 million. So we're really to the positive, and that's probably due to the ADA that is higher than we projected. So just kind of a flip-flop there in what we're able to collect. And then the real story here is any debt that was issued prior to September 1, 2023 is held harmless, and Amber and I say we'll believe it when we see it. But our projection for property tax collections and debt service is down $10 million, but you can see that our state hold harmless is up $12 million. So we'll keep you up to date on that. We haven't seen that ever, and so something new to look at. And an update on the deficit projection. I've got the recapture payment on the blue line. The arrow indicates the recapture removed from the 25% per CE local that we adopted this summer. And we're okay for the fiscal year 2023, but in 24, we're going to have, we still, with that $12 million deficit, we'll have some issues. I just noticed that the $117 million, if it's a straight down from 132, it would be about 120, but we're still projected, I'll fix that and send it out. We're still below where we need to be on a projection. So something that we'll keep looking at over time. And that's the monthly financials.
Thank you, Ms. Melanie. Are there any comments or questions from the board? All right, thank you so much. Moving on, the 2023 bond planning follow-up. Dr. Rapp.
All right, thank you, Madam President, members of the board. We had a robust discussion and presentation on at our work session last Monday night, and so the presentation is going in reverse right now. We will just recap a little bit of what we discussed at the work session, and then I'm going to turn it back over to Ms. Maloney for the discussion about the Unlimited Tax School Building Bond Series 2024. So just a quick recap, as we've said multiple times, not only this evening, but at the work session and written to our community. We're so thankful for the support of our community, as Ms. Maloney just gave the update about what our budget looks like with the passing of the Vader. And there's no doubt in the next item when I talk about the legislative session that without an increase in the basic allotment, our community stepped up when the legislature did not. So our plan of action when it comes to our 2023 bond program, of course, is transparency based on what the voters approved, reporting to you all regularly, and maintaining our connection with our community through the One Vision Task Force. Now I've lost the ability to control it with the... There you go. We said that basically, when we talked on Monday night, that our presentation that we provided to you all addressed our planning, our processes, our timelines. It addressed our financial analysis, what our reporting would look like, and there's several different ways that reporting comes to you. And anytime you see a check mark, that indicates something that will require board action or consent. We discussed our guiding principles for the projects that would be in the first sale, and those really fell out into these project categories of things related to the facilities assessment document, safety and security, technology, playgrounds, furniture, and fine arts, because these things build capacity for later when there's a heavier lift as well. So things to consider in the first sale, we discussed how we projected out for inflation. We discussed some things that are already in need of replacement at this time, and of course, that's where y'all discussed the reimbursement resolution, and ultimately a little bit more that we talked about with the accounting when you're doing things across project budgets across multiple issuances. I was pleased after we met you all on Monday to attend the furniture fair last week, and we had many principals and teachers coming through the furniture fair giving feedback. I appreciate Randy's team for all the work done to get all that furniture to be able to look at, and I look forward to seeing the results of that. Our first budget sale projection has been revised a little bit as we've looked at an analysis of the first sale budgets, and so we're projecting $520 million for the first sale, and that includes $76 million to get technology projects off the ground and $69 million for safety and security. We talked a lot about on Monday night that it is a little bit of a crystal ball when you're going to project when to sell bonds, and we looked at a lot of different information there as well. And then we just talked about all the different people that are involved in the debt issuance process, and I appreciate Paige and Amber and the work that they'll do over the break as they participate in those credit ratings calls. And then I know we're all pleased about the opportunity for our students to participate in this, and we appreciate our underwriters making that possible, and look forward to getting back with you all about which group of kids. As soon as we ended the meeting the other night, Paige and Ms. Gall and team really talking about what students to participate. So we're looking forward to reporting on that. And then as far as our next steps goes, this is where I'm going to turn over to Paige to really talk about the Bond Series 2024 and get y'all's feedback and answer any additional questions about the timeline for the proposed first sale. So at this time, I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you, Dr. Rapp, and welcome John and Michael Martin here, and they're here available for any questions that you might have as well. We have in the Unlimited Tax School Building Bond Series 2024 finalized details discussion item. We have the attached proposed schedule of events, and we reviewed that schedule last week. Right now, Amber's team is working on the preliminary official statement, and since we have our audit, we're entering all of our numbers into that, making sure that everything is good to go for that. We're scheduling underwriter calls for the holidays, and then of course those credit rating calls that are so important. Our application to the Texas Education Agency for the Permanent School Fund Guarantee has already been approved. We've attached a sample order for you to look at, and that's for $520 million, as Dr. Rapp reported, and then some parameters are listed there, knowing we are well below right now in the analysis that we've run for our true interest costs at 3.6296. So again, we will draft and circularize the review for review the preliminary official statement, and then request those ratings over the holidays. We are planning to use Piper Sandler as our senior manager. We have used them in the past. They did one of our sales in the 2017 bond as senior manager. We have 3 new groups that we're using in this deal: Baird, Ramirez and Company, and Seibert Williams Shank. Ramirez and Company and Seibert Williams Shank are minority firms, female-owned firms, and so we're happy to give 3 new firms a chance in this sale, and of course they're on our approved list that you approved in August. And so if you flip to the analysis, and that is page 272, you can see that the bonds are dated and delivered on February the 8th in this proposed schedule. Those bonds would be due on August 15th in each of the years shown, and that'll be any bonds that we sell in one fiscal year will not be due until the next fiscal year, as an interest is payable on the 15th of February and August 15th of each year, beginning February 15th, 2025. That true interest cost that I spoke of at 3.6296, I think it'll be interesting when we come back from Christmas to see how December did with the bond buyers index, since we had such a great month in November. So we have that. Of course, the INS rates here are assuming the 100% collections, and the structure above provides $520 million in project funds. And you can see all the way across that taxable value growth, and we've run those scenarios down, and we know that we're well within keeping our promise to the voters of staying at a 38-cent tax rate.
Are there any questions or discussion from the board? All right. Thank you for addressing all my questions that I sent in. It will be interesting to see what that true interest cost when we come back in January. So thank you very much. Next up is the never-ending 88th legislative session update. Dr. Rapp.
Yes, thank you, Madam President, members of the board. All right, so let's just take a look at, what has happened since we last met. And so basically, since we last met, we did end the 4 special sessions. So it ended on Tuesday, December the 5th. And it was ultimately a disappointing session for public education. I will continue to express our appreciation when I do think about the information that Ms. Maloney shared in the budget update, the holding harmless on the property tax compression. We are very appreciative for that. But unfortunately, all of these sessions have ended with no additional funding for school safety. House Bill 3, therefore, is not fully funded. It ended with no funding for staff raises, which, of course, you all did pass raises for our staff for this school year, and then increases to staff and funding for TEA to meet requirements but not school districts was part of what was passed. And again, I reiterate, I am not really yielding criticism that TEA included information in those fiscal notes for them to have more support. If they needed more support, then your local school districts need more support. And then once the session ended, a spokesperson for Governor Abbott's office indicated that the fight for school choice will continue until victory. Funding for public schools throughout the special sessions and the legislative session was tied to education savings accounts, which we know are vouchers. Every bill related to education savings accounts provided more per pupil than what public schools get. And so it was disappointing to see that those things continued to stay connected every single time they were discussed, rather than the merits of each being addressed separately. Just a quick recall about funding that was provided, and we've discussed this in previous board meetings, so I'm not going to go item by item here, but just basically to say that the money that was provided does not provide funding to address overall cost, which you would have to do through an increase in the basic allotment. It does not address staff compensation. It does not address inflationary expenses. It does not address the underfunding of special education, and as I just mentioned, safety and security. It does address the property tax compression piece. That it did do. The bottom line has been that any of the money that is referenced of being an investment in public education is not an accurate representation of really addressing what I would call the staggering weight of unfunded mandates that have just been handed down session after session after session. And we continue to face challenges that, as I've shared with you all before, really were identified and addressed by the Teacher Vacancy Task Force that was convened by the governor. And that task force talked about the need to address staffing shortages, that there needed to be compensation for school districts for staff recruitment and retention, and that the basic allotment is the main driver of funding and needed to be increased. So what happens now? Basically, school districts are all having conversations about the lack of an increase of the basic allotment is going to impact student programs, class sizes, and the operation of schools as they face this year with deficit budgets, and it looks like next year with little to no hope that the legislature is going to address the basic allotment while $33 billion has been in the state surplus and 5.4 million children sit in our public schools. I know that you all are working to create your advocacy plan that we will be working, of course, the rest of this year once that's created and going into the interim. We'll continue to inform our brand ambassadors and our key communicators for advocacy, and we're still working, of course, to bring our elected officials to come do school visits this school year. And then, as I said, we'll be working hard during the interim prior to 2025 when the 89th convenes. And again, just continue to express our appreciation to our community for their support in the recent Vader and the Bond election. And that's the recap of Special Session 4.
Are there any comments? You can go ahead. Dr. Bonner.
Yeah, a couple thoughts. Thank you, Dr. Rapp. Ms. Maloney, you mentioned the hold harmless a bit ago in the last presentation. I left it alone, but then it got brought back up, and so I just wanted to make sure I heard you correctly. The state is supplementing to accommodate the compression, et cetera, so holding us harmless
Yes, sir.
2 years, undefined? Is it like Acetar? Does it run out and we'll have hit the cliff? Do we know?
Well, in the general fund, I mean, that's just the way the formula is going to work forever. On the debt service side, it will be any debt issued prior to September of 2023. So our new debt, and we ran the numbers for that, we will not receive those taxes.
And that makes sense. Yeah, okay. The other couple of things that Dr. Rapp mentioned I wanted to hit on was, thank goodness our voter-approved tax ratification election took place. Otherwise, we'd be staring a $50 million plus deficit in the face. And there's a board committee that has been meeting on program and budget review. And if this doesn't illustrate that we are extremely thankful to our voters, in fact, my friend T.J. Gilmore, one time I heard him say, when Texas cannot or will not, Texans will. And that's what happened locally in our community. Our community cares about kids and they care about student learning. And thank goodness they do. But we still have our work cut out for us. We've got some that we need to reduce in our budget as well. And so be looking for that, because that will be a function of that committee meeting in the near future. Thank you.
Well, I mean, our community did what our legislature cannot. I look forward to the day when people who go to Austin to govern decide to govern. That's all I'm going to say. Next on the agenda is the March primary election polling locations, funny enough. Dr. Rapp.
All right. I wanted board to put this on your radar. Ultimately, I know you had in your board book that we've got 24 of our campuses requested to be polling locations for the primary election. That is down a little bit as Mr. Garrett has been working on ensuring we're identifying campuses that we can work to keep everyone safe on campus while the elections are happening. So that's been adjusted down to 12 as of now from the 24 when you all saw the item originally. One of the things we often face are questions from our community and our parents about why are you closing schools on election day? Why are schools being used as polling places? Why can't maybe the libraries or other places be used a little bit more? So I've asked Deanne to share a little bit with us just about the legal requirements for us being a polling place.
Yes. So we really do not have a lot of flexibility when it comes in terms of schools being used as polling places. It's actually specifically listed in the election code that we are a public building, and we do not have the right to turn that down. So while schools are ADA accessible and centrally located amongst communities with ample parking lots, they are a favorite of a lot of polling venues, and unfortunately we just do not have the ability to ever say no to.
And so to give you an idea, in the primaries in 2022, there were only 6 locations that we were asked. So that gives you a sense the initial request of 24 was quite significantly up from the 6. And then, of course, as I shared, Mr. Garrett, they've worked to get it down to 12. And so I know we'll be happy to take any questions at this time, and Matt may need to come up for that. But ultimately, we do not have a lot of additional minutes in our calendar, as you all are you're going to talk about calendar later for next school year, in order to make adjustments easily to school for that day. We haven't yet faced winter weather season and all of those kind of things. So we're not really recommending any calendar changes as a result of this at this time, but we'll continue to monitor. If possible, we would bring that need before you. But when we saw that the number had increased so much, we definitely wanted to get that on your radar. So we'll answer any questions, myself and or Mr. Garrett included.
Ms. Taylor.
I think you answered my question, Dr. Rapp, because I wanted to know what was the likelihood that we would be closing schools. And so I think you just answered that question. But one comment, I think it was important for you to have Ms. Bay speak about the requirements. As a parent, I didn't know that, and I'm always getting questions about why are schools closing, for elections. So to know that there's a legal requirement, I think is important for the community to understand.
Dr. Barker.
Thank you, Madam President. Deanne, you may not know the answer to this question off the top of your head, but maybe you do. Do charter schools fall under that same requirement?
I believe they do, but they're not quite as centrally located as we are.
I just wanted to bring that up as another consequence of running a public school system as opposed to a charter.
Ms. Sells?
Do we have any idea on additional costs that this cost us? I mean, we're not getting any compensation for the stuff we're supposed to do, the education. And so if this is, of course, this is time and this is resources from our staff who has to be even more diligent, for our security who has to be diligent, for our IT department. I mean, everything is on that. And so I understand the law, and thank you so much, Ms. Bay, for explaining that. We are not required to close, but we did begin that last year as for security reasons for our staff and our children. And so I would love to know, just at some point in time, just a rough estimate of what this cost.
We can definitely gather that from the various departments. I will say one of the larger costs is the security component. The county does provide resources for that, which is nice. When we talk about large quantities of schools, that's where we get into a resource issue. But as we decrease, and again, we're at 12 now, and then there's a chance we'll actually go down even more. That just makes it more resource available to keep that security plans in place. So, but we'll get you a LISD department cost as best we can.
And my question probably isn't more for you. It is probably a question for Dr. Miller and Dr. Rapp, which is, moving forward, we're going to approve a calendar tonight, but moving forward, looking at primary dates, is that something, since they are on a Tuesday, and we are normally in school on Tuesdays, is that something that should also to add to the ever-growing calendar requirements moving forward?
I mean, it's definitely something we want to consider. As you know from the calendar this year, we were pressed to the very last day before we have to go after Memorial Day. But we didn't really anticipate this big one because last time there were only 6. And so in the primaries, and so we weren't anticipating this huge jump, which is hard for us to predict what's going to happen because even now we were getting different requests. Correct. So it's definitely something we want to have conversations about, but it's really hard for us to predict until the calendar has already been approved.
And I would highlight one of the big X factors this year was Senate Bill 924 passing. That of course is what probably caused the almost doubling of campuses being used. So we're working through that, and of course that was passed June or July, I believe. So that's a new one.
Thank you for always trying to keep our kids safe. Appreciate it. All right. Just keep staying there. Next up is the district-wide intruder detection audit report and findings. Dr. Rapp.
Okay. For the month of December, we did have intruder detection audits conducted by the TEA. Locations visited was Castle Hills Elementary, Hebron Valley Elementary, Lakeland Elementary, Marcus High School, Peters Colony Elementary, and the STEM Academy at Valley Ridge Elementary. Any findings resulted out of those have already been corrected and sent to the state, and we already have been notified today that audits will continue into the month of January, so we'll be ready for those. And I'll take any questions you may have.
Are there any questions? Thank you very much, Mr. McGarrett. Next up, we move to the action portion of the evening. First step is to consider approval of the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year dated August 31, 2023. Ms. Maloney.
Thank you, President Prosnick, Dr. Rapp, members of the board. I welcome Selena Sarasaras from Whitley Penn this evening for our presentation. I will remind the board that Ms. Taylor called the audit committee together last week, and we reviewed with Ms. Sarasaras what she's going to be reviewing tonight, and your audit was in board book on Friday, and you got your copy this evening with this darling little picture. It's kind of deceiving. You think it's going to be like a nice little story, and it's the audit. But we'll turn it over to Selena at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Maloney. President Prosnick, members of the board, and Dr. Rapp, thank you for having me here tonight. As Ms. Maloney indicated, we did meet with the audit committee a week ago to discuss the results of the fiscal year 2023 audit, not just the financial statements, but also the single audit, because you do spend more than $750,000 in federal awards. We went over the audit process, our planning that began as early as March, but we came out in May, June timeframe, completed our internal control review, understanding the key controls, identifying those controls, testing those controls. We came back after the district closed its books in early October, mid-October, and performed our substantive testing, all in an effort to be here tonight to issue our opinion on the financial statements. And just a few required communications. You did approve our engagement letter December 15, 2022. When we started communicating about the audit during interim, we identified in this letter to you, we identified 2 risks: management override and revenue recognition, just letting you know that that's a risk that is applicable to any audited entity, and then all of the procedures that we were going to perform to mitigate that risk from an audit perspective. We look at your accounting policies. Do we make sure that they are in line with industry standards and that you're implementing the required accounting pronouncements? This year, you implemented GASB number 96, which is the subscription-based information technology arrangements. It is the sister pronouncement to leases, GASB 87, from last year. It was an undertaking that most school districts, all governments throughout the United States, had to begin about 2 years ago to gather the information, and this year it was implemented in your financial statements. So you have a new line item in the government-wide financial statements. It does not impact your general fund or any of your special revenue funds as far as liabilities or capital assets are concerned. There were no disagreements or difficulties with the district, its management team, and we are independent of the district. As far as the last piece of audit evidence, that's a management representation letter where your management team has asserted that we received all of the information that we needed to do our work and issue our opinion. If the district did consult with other audit firms as far as opinion shopping, we'd be required to report that to you here tonight, and we are not aware that that has occurred. Any major issues discussed with us, any guidance that's requested, our response is not a retention of you keeping us as your audit firm. And then the estimates that are included in your financial statements are related to state aid, knowing that average daily attendance plays a huge part. We do perform some tests, as we'll see here in a bit. OPEB and pension liabilities and those related items come from the state and are actuarially determined by the state's actuaries. And then finally, the allowance for doubtful accounts as it relates to your property taxes. These are the internal controls that we focus on. Payroll and non-payroll are the basic ones that we really have to focus on. Payroll, you will see that just in the general fund, payroll makes up 75%. So if you think about it district-wide, that's the similar amount that we'll see from all funding sources minus capital projects and debt service fund. We also focus on procurement, state and federal requirements, and then information technology because it does feed all of these other areas. We'll focus on not just compliance, but also the controls over the federal requirements related to the federal programs we picked this year. Other revenues has to do with child nutrition, funds collected at the campuses. And then we'll look at your PEMS reporting and also average daily attendance, focusing on any changes from absent to present, just for those attendance, the attendance that affects state aid. When the district closed its books, we performed our substantive testing. We began with basic analytical procedures, flux analysis, looking at prior year to the current year, also some racial analysis. We look at predictive testing as well, estimating the property tax revenue based on historical collections. If we can't get comfortable with any of third-party reports, such as the Texas Education Payment Report, the Comptroller's Report, the Summary of Finances, then we'll request additional documentation, bank information to vouch the information, the revenues that we need, or expenditures. Finally, confirmations for such as your cash, investments, pledge collateral, and long-term debt such as your bonds are part of our key procedures and gives us the most assurance out of all of these procedures, in addition, of course, to our vouching. But anything that we can corroborate from an outside source gives us the most amount of assurance. Of course, we're here to issue an opinion over the financial statements and your major federal programs that we tested. Every entity wants an unmodified opinion. It's a clean opinion, and I am pleased to report that you have earned that unmodified opinion over your financial statements, because you are subject to the Single Audit Act that's related to your federal programs. We have to add an additional layer of auditing standards, the Generally Accepted Government Auditing Standards, or GAGAS, in addition to the Generally Accepted Auditing Standards. We didn't have any internal control findings related to financial reporting, nor any compliance findings related to the state requirements that we look at on an annual basis. Moving over to the federal programs, we do have to apply a third layer of standards under the Office of Management and Budget, or 2 CFR. That comes under the Single Audit Act of 1996. The total federal awards for the districts were $58 million, and of course here we are again auditing the third tranche of your ESSER funds, ESSER 3 and T-class, which totaled $18 million for fiscal year 2023, and then your Type A, another large program with special education cluster. And as you recall, I've said this in previous years, that we have to rotate the large programs, which is special education, child nutrition, and Title I, and then we supplement with smaller programs. This year, we just had these two large programs. We cannot not test ESSER 3 or the various tranches of money, because the OMB has slated it as a higher risk program, and auditors, if it hits a certain dollar threshold, we're required to pick it up as a federal program. We are issuing a clean opinion, or an unmodified opinion, on these two federal programs, and we didn't encounter any internal control findings or any compliance issues with these federal programs. Any questions before I move into the financial highlights? Okay. So the government-wide financial statements, which are your statements, Exhibits A1 and Exhibits B1, this presents your financial statements as if you were a business or a corporation. It presents all of your long-lived assets, all of your long-term liabilities, and it uses the full accrual method of accounting, versus if you look at your governmental funds, those use a modified accrual basis of accounting, which is just current resources. So your total assets were $1.8 billion, with capital assets at $1.4 billion. You still had cash and investments at $348 million. And then deferred outflows and inflows on this slide are all primarily related to your net pension and net OPEB liabilities. Your total liabilities were $1.5 billion, with bonds making up $1.1 billion. And you did have two bond refundings this year. And so you'll see in your debt service fund those payments, or those reductions in your debt service or your bond balances because of that. Your net pension liability and OPEB liabilities were $174 and $89 million, and I have a few slides to discuss those as well. And then your total net position, or the net worth of the district, is $267 million. I believe it's first rating indicator number 5, where TEA, if they were to rate it, it's I think been silent for a few. They haven't been rating it or scoring it. They would add the net pension and net OPEB liability back to the net position because they realize that it is only a financial reporting item. Those two liabilities do not represent a cash liability. It's not like your bond payable. It's not like your accounts payable. You will continue to pay into TRS for both the pension and the OPEB programs at the statutorily determined rates. But again, those liabilities, you don't have to budget for them or plan to pay them off, because that liability is the liability of the state, and your proportionate share is based on your contributions divided by the contributions of all participants within TRS. You'll see a huge jump from last year to this year, and that's because your discount rate decreased. And there's always that inverse relationship with the discount rate. And then also investment earnings in fiscal year 22 were dismal. And the reason 22 has to be used is because TRS has your same fiscal year end. So if we had to wait for TRS to issue their report, we wouldn't make your report in time. So we always have to use the year before that. That's why these figures are the measurement year 2022. And that's important to note because investment earnings were really poor in fiscal year 22, and they're much different in 2023. So we'll probably see the opposite happen in fiscal year 24 based on measurement year 2023. The net OPEB liability actually decreased, but that is because your discount rate increased. It went from 1.95 to 3.91%. And so again, that inverse relationship has caused that decrease regardless of what happened to the investment rate. In your note disclosures, you'll see that sensitivity of just a 1% interest rate creates a huge swing in either direction, up or down, for that liability. I know that's a lot of information for a liability that you never have to pay, but I think it's important because it is such a large number on your financial statements. Now we move into the general fund. This is what you're accustomed to seeing on a monthly basis. Actual revenues were $549 million, and they came under budget by $20 million. Your actual expenditures were $566 million, and those came in under budget as well. Your fund balance decreased by $17 million, and your total ending fund balance was $132 million. You did change your fund balance policy, where all fund balance that is not committed or assigned goes into unassigned, and that's the norm that we see throughout the state of Texas in school districts. When we look at your general fund revenues, I presented this. I hope you all can see it on your screens. I presented this a little bit different, just to show what happens with recapture. So in fiscal year 2023, you collected $448 million in property taxes. That's the sum of the $387 million and the $61 million that you sent back to the state as recapture. If you look at fiscal year 2022, the sum of those two amounts, the green and then the patterned green, is $432 million, and you sent back $45 million. And I believe in 2024, that recapture will decrease significantly to about $12 million. Am I correct? $12 million for that. So again, the bulk of your revenues are coming from property taxes, and then your state aid for both 23 and 22 were $33 million. Your state revenue, which is your TRS on behalf, was $28 million and $26 million respectively. And then you have your federal revenue, $16 and $15 million. And the bulk of that is your school health and related services revenue, as well as indirect cost. And then you'll see your investment earnings were $12 million, while your investment earnings last year were maybe up to $2 million as well. Your other local revenue has to do with tuition for the extended school day program, and then you had a few insurance recoveries as well that brought that other local revenue to about $7 million. Looking at your general fund expenditures for 2023, this chart is too busy to put both the current year and the prior year. But again, the good news is that your instruction and related services makes up the bulk of your expenditures. If we were to remove recapture, that would add 11% of your expenditures to go elsewhere, or you wouldn't. You could retain those property taxes and not pay it back. But that recapture is recorded in your expenditures as well. Your payroll costs in the general fund were 75% of the total cost, or $424 million. And then the last thing I'd like to note is your general administration at $12 million is only 2%. We typically see 3% is the norm, so you're well under the 8% that TEA looks at as the maximum indirect, general administration and campus-related administration as well. When you look at last year, the expenditures totaled $539 million, and your instruction and related services were about 1% higher than the current year. But again, you kept your general administration at 2%, and then also your recapture was a little bit lower at 8% because it only totaled $45 million compared to the $61 million you paid this year. Now, as far as your general fund unassigned fund balance as a percentage of your expenditures, you'll see that you are quite healthy. So the way your policy reads is that you take your ending fund balance divided by your total expenditures less any recapture. So I've presented both. Either way, you're right in line with what TA likes to see. They like to see anywhere between 60 and 90 days. I use 90 days because typically that's what the Government Finance Officers Association uses, but TEA uses anywhere between 60 and 75 days cash on hand. And this again, fund balance is not cash on hand, but it's a similar metric that you would be using here. So again, your fund balance is healthy. And as we discussed, these first 3 months of fiscal year 2024, property taxes are very low, right? You don't start levying your taxes and collecting your taxes, till December, January timeframe. So you need that fund balance to fund the beginning of the school year. And then also unknowns. We just never know what's going to happen in future years. Any questions for me?
Are there any questions? Ms. Taylor?
Just more of a comment. I just wanted to say that I appreciated working with your firm. Also to say thank you to President Prosnick for allowing me to chair this committee. Everyone knows anything financial it's dear to my heart. Also want to say thank you to our CFO, our Executive Director of Finance, and their team. You guys did such an outstanding job. We didn't have any findings. The internal controls are working as required. They're excellent. And just thank you for your financial management of this district.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions? Seeing none, would someone like to make a motion? Ms. Taylor.
Madam President, I move that the board approve the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ended August 31st, 2023.
Dr. Bonner, second. All those in favor? Vote is 7-0. That's unanimous. Next up is to consider approval of the 2024-2025 academic calendar. Dr. Miller.
Yes, thank you. So we sent out a survey after Thanksgiving break and got a huge response of 6,500 plus responses sharing their preferences. That's almost 1,800 more than last year, which we thought we did really good last year. So that's exciting. And also there was a this year is very distinct. 62% of those voted for option B, which, remember, we did an early option, which was typical to this year, then a later option, but you end before Memorial Day, which was option B, or a later start, but you end after Memorial Day, which was C. So with all those results, B was the one, 62% that chose that. So any questions?
Are there any questions? Once again, I will say that I appreciate the fact that we don't just ask staff, that we ask community members. There are other districts who do not engage their community, and I always appreciate that we do. So, with that, would someone like to make a motion? Dr. Barker.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the board approve calendar option B for the 2024-25 school calendar based on survey results from staff and families as presented by administration.
Ms. Alcateb, second. All those in favor? That's 7-0, carries unanimously. Next on the agenda is to consider a student grievance appeal. If at any time the board is to hear a matter involving a student, the matter must be heard in closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.0821. We will therefore convene into closed session to hear, consider, and deliberate on the Level 3 student grievance appeal. The time is now 8:58 p.m. We are back on the record in open session, having returned from closed session. The time is now 9:38 p.m. Does any board member have a motion regarding the student grievance appeal? Ms. Alcatab.
I move to uphold the Level 2 student grievance decision of the administration.
Do I have a second? Ms. Taylor. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. If there is no further business, this meeting is adjourned. May you have a pleasant winter break, and the time is 9:38 p.m. Have a pleasant evening.